Now, broadcasting live from the commodious confines of the Swanky Proof Saloon, where the liquid elite meet. Here is your hostess, the Madam of Manhattans, the Duchess of Daiquiris, the Queen of Conviviality, your hostess, James Beard Award winner, Jennifer English.
So let's talk about bubbles. In order to be called a champagne, you have to come and be born in the Champagne region of France. There are a few markets around the world where that is not the case, but they are scarce and rare. Everything else is a beautiful sparkling wine, and more practitioners of the sparkling wine arts are making incredible 100-point winning wines outside of Champagne. To do so, however, is a feat of rare achievement. And I have to say, as a Champagne lover, I was thrilled to be introduced to Provocativo. And one of the things that's become really compelling for me about the category is that we never used to think of sparkling wines as great wines in and of themselves. They were always special occasion wines, or they were celebration wines. And that's true. But if you really love bubbles the way I love bubbles, and I love bubbles, if you really love bubbles, you want to eat them with meals. You want to have them as one of the great sips. Because if you don't, I don't actually drink very much, but when I want a sip of something really delicious, it's almost always a glass of bubbles. And the Provocativo just knocked me over with its quality and its flavor and its finish and its finesse. And I am thrilled to introduce you to the CEO of Provocativo, Hans Christian Holt. Hello, and thank you. I am so thrilled that I get a chance to say thank you for making this for us. I'm going to guess that you love bubbles almost as much as I do, or maybe even more.
Of course, I think you're right to the point, Jennifer. Thank you for having me on. And I think, as you say, bubbles is just growing, and it's growing from a base of, $31 billion and expected to grow to, $54 billion over the next 5 years. And I think it's all about, going away from this, special events celebration to become an everyday celebratory drink, because life is important to celebrate. And that's, the background when we developed Provocativo. And, it's all about standing out, but also in regards to what you just said, we need to have, a taste which really appeal to everybody. And we created the Provocativo. And as you said, in regards to Champagne, comes from a small area, and Provocativo comes from Spain, is the cava. But we focus on the sparkling segment, and also in regards to, it's made the same way as Champagne. And to your point, yes, there's a lot of places which creates, some fantastic sparkling wine around the world.
Let's talk a little bit about the dream that you had to create the world's great sparkling wine. And I think you've made a really good shot at the claim that you are one of the greatest, if not the greatest sparkling wine in the world. Let's talk about what that dream must have been like, because this is an ancient category. Since Dom Perignon the monk said, "Come quickly, I'm sipping the stars." And of course, it has a legendary history. And even in my own life, when my own son was born, we borrowed the tradition of touching champagne to the newborn's lips and wishing him a lifetime of moments worth celebrating. Our cultural reference point to bubbles is long and storied, and yet you had a beautiful dream that you've brought to life. Would you talk about how the dream was born?
I think in regards to dreams, I've been in the alcohol business my whole life. And then everything we do actually is based on analytics. First of all, I love bubbles. And when you saw a category growing as quickly as bubbles, I said it needs to be an opportunity to actually create something bigger. And, when you do things, you need to make sure that you're actually creating a brand with a quality, which is then matching the brand you're creating. And you need to find a way to stand out. And that's why we also know that, bubbles are, much better when they are matured in big bottles. And then we created the, size matters, in and magnum only. And of course, everybody laughs when you say that, because you get a lot of things in your head when you're saying size matters. But everybody likes a nicer car, more beautiful partner, a bigger boat, and so on. But my dream is always based on, first of all, I need to enjoy what I'm promoting. I need to, make sure that I'm in something which actually can satisfy the consumer and at the same time be profitable. And we did about 12 months research on everything on bubbles. And what surprised me the most is actually, getting back to your point, Jennifer, is that it doesn't stop. The growth just continue, and now it's expected to grow 8.5% every single year. So my dream is actually make sure that we create a product which is available for everybody at the reasonable price points.
I want to talk about the large format because you're absolutely right. Connoisseurs have always known that the larger format bottles of bubbles had an enhanced everything about them, about the flavor, about the way they mature. But I love that you recognize that. And there's something I've never understood, and maybe you can help me. Rarely do we have a celebration or a party where you would need more than one bottle of champagne, just for a toast even. I've always wondered why it wasn't just the standard format to offer in a magnum size for great celebrations, because historically champagne and sparkling wine always was a celebration sip. I love that you've recognized that this is what this is and going to be. Can you talk about the large format? Because that had to have been a provocative choice when you went to your team and said, we're only going to do big and large format.
I think as everything comes back to analytics. Of course, quality is one we should already address. The other thing is that if you go into a Publix or into any kind of nightclub or going into a restaurant, everything you see is basically $7.50. And from a competitive point of view, we want to stand out, and it's all about standing out. You need to be different from the competition. So, quality is one which you already pointed out on. And then, of course, the competition is less. You go in and find, probably 75 different SKUs on the Publix shelf, but you only find like 5 magnums. So then, quality and visibility go hand in hand, and then you figure out, let's test it out. So we tested it out, and we really saw the takeaway directly that the consumer really engaged with the brand. They picked us, in front of other, known champagne brands. But the large formats was all about standing out, having a pitch line which were different from the competition, at the same time taking care of quality.
I want to speak to the fact that your own connoisseurship and expertise in the industry led you to use a wine produced in Spain in the cava style, because to my mind, there is no other sparkling wine that could compete or excel against a champagne than the one you've chosen. Some of my favorite non-champagne sparklers are cavas. It really is the gold standard, but you have done something extraordinary within the cava realm. I'm not saying other things are not delicious. I'm going to get a lot of fan mail for this one saying, Jennifer, but the truth is, and let's be really honest, this is not a Prosecco kind of thing. This is when you really want to go with a kind of body and elegance and style and finesse and richness and toastiness that you have to go in the direction you did. It's how you got to 100 points and the Century Award. I think it's so important for people to know that not all sparkling wines are created equal, and that you really did a lot of homework to develop and create this particular offering. Would you talk to, beyond the analytics, just as someone who loves these products, why this is the case and what makes cava so great and why this was the right one for you?
I think in regards to, cava, is made the same way champagne is being made. And then, of course, I'm not the winemaker. We have, an incredible winemaker called Brianna Cardona. She is the one who makes the magic together with the winery in Spain. And then, we put our small, own palate into the mix. The Spanish do their thing, we do our thing. And then we try to combine that. And then, of course, when you have a winemaker, which we have in Brianna Cardona, you get a fantastic product. And getting back to champagne and cava, they're made the same way. The champagne is aged for 12 months minimum, and for cava it's 10, and you have the second fermentation in the bottle, and it's all the same. And if you look at it and you do blind tasting like you guys did, the quality is as good or even better than a lot of champagnes. And of course, I'm never talking bad about any competition or anything else, but we did try to make something which were more scalable than what champagne is right now, because champagne is currently a lot of them are out of stock. They have had a few bad vintages because of frost. And the good thing about Cava is, they produce 26 million cases of Cava every single year, and there's enough for everybody. And of course, then you get back to quality.
Let's talk about where you are in the marketplace and how the marketplace has responded even before your 100-point proof award validation. Yeah. Where are you in the world? Where are you having great success?
I think in regards to, I think we've all been to some, hard times, and you probably heard this several times, that, the COVID did not, made any room for celebration. And we launched this back in 2020 in January or February, where we had an incredible, the consumer received it so well. We were blowing out at the Fountain Blues, the SLS, the W's in Miami, and getting into retail and more. And suddenly, of course, everything closed because of COVID, and I got to spend too much time on that. But then there was not a right time to actually relaunch or launch anything when, people were losing their loved ones. They were, struggling to get through. So we said, let's just keep calm, make sure that we wait until COVID is over, and then we get everybody back in place. So right now, we're seeing fantastic interactions with the Hard Rock hotels and casinos. First of all, it's incredible resorts. We're seeing incredible reorders at the smaller retail stores. We're seeing at the Club 23 in Miami, and we're just going into a national distribution in Q2. And I think the rest of the United States and the world will be able to taste it during 2022.
Well, I have to tell you two things. The first is, I love that you said that the wine speaks for itself. Res ipsa loquitur. The thing speaks for itself. I love that you gave us something so extraordinary that it speaks for itself, and the judging and the validity of what happens at the Proof Awards when buyers who literally are professional tasters and judges met something so remarkable that we get the validation like, yes, this is that good. Yes, this is that good. You absolutely have to tell us how it feels to be one of the few Century Award winners that we have had in this category, and how you shared the news with your team.
I think, first of all, the Proof Awards is, I believe, one of the most prestigious competition in the beverage industry. And I know how hard it is to actually, get a high score. And getting back to the, Century Club, when we're talking about design and everything else, and how I brought, that success back to the team, is that, I think we have proof of quality, and I think we have proof of marketing concept. And when the industry, we were sure that we had something really good because we test everything inside out. But getting the Proof Awards and the Century Award and Double Gold was for us, just reconfirming that what we have done so far is just to the point, and everybody was thrilled. And of course, you will see that in all of our presentation decks that the Proof Awards, is on the first or second page in our presentations.
Let's talk a little bit about the fact that Food and Beverage Magazine, with our 14 million monthly readers, is a real gathering place for information for our industry. And with our publication Proof Magazine, we have an equal reach. The industry is very interested in what's happening. And with products and new products that come and earn these prizes, they get a chance to have almost like a sorting, a vetting, a validation happening. And so I think it's really important to talk to our industry. And I appreciate you being so candid about some of the factors that have gone into this from a business standpoint. One of the questions that I have with a still wine and food pairing, it was always the domain of fine dining. But one of the things that was always challenging is if you had champagne or sparkling wine in a high volume setting and you weren't in a celebration mode, let's say an anniversary dinner, an engagement dinner, birthday dinner, that the amount of time and everything that would go into it was prohibitive from a high volume standpoint. You couldn't just keep opening with a 2 or 3 minute opening, anything with that kind of corking and et cetera. And I would imagine that a large format, which is now 10 pours, maybe 11 out of a bottle, You're going to make it much easier for me to make this available by the glass. And in doing so, you are going to introduce a whole new generation and population of bubbly, sparkling wine sippers to something that they might not have had a chance to discover. Otherwise, to me, that's one of the decisions you made that's utterly genius.
So Jennifer, you are hired, because that's the sales pitch we are using, to all the different restaurants as well. A magnum, everybody says it's a big bottle, but if you look at it, if you're 2 to 3 people, everybody going to go through it. And if you're able at a restaurant and you have 100 clients coming in, you want to serve by the glass, and why don't you serve them something of a higher quality, and make sure that they indulge in the product, and then you will get the reorders when they sit down and order the bottles afterwards.
If somebody doesn't take a sip of this and say, I want this again, something's very wrong with their palate, not with your wine. I'm just saying.
Thank you so much.
Let's talk a little bit about pairing.
Yes.
Again, I think the great cuisines of the world include the cuisines of both Spain, France, and Italy. And sparkling wines are certainly in the most elevated expressions. But there is something in my mind, and to my opinion, really richly aligned with Spanish cuisine and pairing the food with a sparkling wine. I think it goes very well. Would you talk a little bit about Provocativo as a pairing companion to food? And where have you, as you've traveled around introducing people to Provocativo, found the best links and pairings?
I'm probably not the right one to talk about the pairing thing. I'm the one who's makes sure the quality is good and making sure that the brand stands out. But I do believe that if you look at when you consume things and when you drink and when you eat, you feel bubbles is cleaning your palate. You get when you eat, if that's a fish or anything else, you get the sparkling in the mouth, and you actually taste. Sometimes I believe that some of the food you eat is actually tasting better, and I say to everybody, try it with your salad, try it with your fish, try it with your chicken, and try it with the tapas, especially in Spain, where you have a lot of different flavors and seafood as well. So, but again, I'm not the expert on the pairing, but I do believe that bubbles goes with a lot of different cuisines around the world, and and people should try it, and it's cleans your palate, gets you in a good mood, and that as well has an impact on how you actually view the thing you're eating.
Well, I didn't necessarily win my James Beard Award for my palate, but I will say it could have very easily just have been for my palate as any other word that ever came out of my mouth, because I've been blessed to have the equivalent of what a lot of food people are lucky to have, which is that sort of perfect pitch, right? So I actually will feel very comfortable telling you I have found lots of things that go brilliantly well with Provocativo, but my two favorites. I'm going to start with the easiest one, and the one that really delighted me and surprised me the most. And I would urge people to try this in their own homes and with their own friends. One of my all-time favorites is bubbles with a clean cheeseburger and unsalted French fries. And if you are lucky to get good French fries and you have just a tiny kiss of a truffle salt on it, that will, to my mind, be one of the great pairings with bubbles you'll ever have. It sounds simple, practically plebeian, but it's exquisite when it's done wonderfully well. I also think that bubbles go incredibly well with a Sunday brunch moment. I don't ever mix it with orange juice. I know some people like that. Personally, I just like the clean of the bubbles. And at brunch time, I serve the Provocativo, actually in a slightly bigger, almost Spanish red wine style glass with ice cubes. And it just gives that cool, and it just really lends itself to the flavors of a breakfast table, especially if it includes smoked salmon.
Fantastic, and I like you pointed out, the bigger glasses, and add the ice cube in there. It's fantastic. The flavors comes out in a completely different way, and you to the points. And also the bigger glasses, is more generous in regards to, when you drink. You don't want small glasses when you celebrate or enjoying lunch, That's an important part of it.
Well, I don't know if you can still hear me, but I wanted to say
Yes.
Thank you very much for being with us today. And I want to ask you one last question. What is the house toast of Provocativo?
What do you mean? The house toast? What do you mean? So the house toast is, size matters and toast to life. There we go.
Congratulations on the 100-point Century Award. I'm thrilled to congratulate you in person, to meet you, and I will really look forward to clinking our glasses together in person, in real life, very, very soon. Everybody, where you can find Provocativo is, which stores are your favorite North American stores where we have big distribution and everybody can find you?
And I will tell you that in about next time you're on. We're just sorting everything out with the big chains, and I think we're going to be available in about 42 states in the next 3 months. So wait until we're done with the negotiations, and you will actually get it, hold of it everywhere. But so far, go online, order it at provocativo.com, and you can have it in your inbox in just a couple of days.
Cheers and congratulations. Thank you so much for your time and this wonderful product.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Have a good one.